Hi, everybody. This is week 5 and video number 1 for this week. I wanted to spend a bit of time just at the beginning going over what we'll do this week and giving you a bit of a warning about next week. So this week we're going to look at strategies for reading journal articles. Those strategies also apply to book chapters. We're going to talk about something called Cornell note taking. And then we're going to finish up with talking about writing effective summaries. All of this information is going to come into play next week. Next week, I am giving you a huge assignment. So we're going to be actually starting our research together next week. So I wanted to give you a bit of a warning and a bit of a break this week. So there is no assignment due this week at all. But I may ask you to start doing some work and some thinking in preparation for next week when I'm going to hit you with that brutal assignment. So we've looked at how to find journal articles and books. We've looked at how to cite them using APA, but we haven't really talked about the process of reading them. And the odd thing is that in post-secondary, we tell people, yeah, go out and read these books, go out and read these articles, but we rarely talk about the process that's involved in reading them. I have some tips for you. Reading journal articles and reading book chapters, especially when you're dealing with complex medical information, is not easy. It is a task, but there are some things that you can do to make it a little bit easier and to actually increase your level of understanding so that you're actually retaining the information that you're reading and then you're able to use it or share it with others. My first recommendation, as always, is to pour yourself a big cup of coffee. I think that works. I always do that whenever I'm reading journal articles or book chapters. And it's kind of a joke, but it's kind of not too. Try to make it a special time where you put away all other distractions. So, hide your phone, hide whatever, is going to pull your attention away. Get yourself a little treat, okay, and say, I'm going to sit down for this next hour or whatever and just focus on this article. I'll forget about everything else that's going on in my life, everything else that I'm studying, and I'll just pour all of my concentration into the article. I also recommend, this might be because I'm old, I don't know, that you print a copy of the article. I find that it's easier to read when you're dealing with a hard copy. I don't know about you, but when I'm reading on a screen, I tend to skim rather than actually read. But if I'm reading on paper, I find I pay more attention. It also, again, gets you away from those distractions. So, your Skype isn't going off or you're not hearing notifications from other pieces of software. It really forces you to just sit down and focus on it. And if we weren't in COVID time, I would recommend that you print out your articles just because then you can bring them to a coffee shop or whatever, sit there for the hour and actually read. When we get to the actual reading of the article, the first thing that you should do is look at the abstract. And remember, the abstract is just a little short summary of the longer article. Reading a little summary gives you a good idea of what to expect over the article and can actually improve your understanding. Then take a look at the introduction and conclusion. Check for headings within the document. And then I would say take a little break. Okay, so that's sort of your first step. Orientating yourself with the article, getting comfortable with it, reading the summary, looking at the headings, knowing what to expect. The next step, I call this part 2, is where you actually read the entire article. Okay, so it's your first read through. Make sure that you look up words that you don't understand. It's very easy to skip over words, right, when you don't understand them. But you actually want to use this opportunity to build your medical vocabulary. So if there's words that are being used that you're unfamiliar with, look them up, okay, and make sure that you know what they are. It will really increase your understanding. Highlight and make notes. Okay, oftentimes we read passively. So we just read and we don't actually engage with the written word. It is really important. Okay, highlighting is good, but a lot of people suffer from highlighting disease where they highlight too much information. Taking notes is even better. And in a future video, I'm going to introduce you to a note-taking strategy that I think works really well. But at a bare minimum, you want to take notes, jot things down as you're reading. That's going to help you retain the information. You also want to pay very special attention to the first sentence in each paragraph or each section of your article or your book chapter, because this is where the main point is usually introduced. So pay really special attention to beginnings of paragraphs, beginnings of sections. That can help you understand what's to come. And then, I'm a break taker. I suggest that you take another break now that you've actually read through the article, because we're going to go through part number 3. In part number 3, what you want to do is reread the article. And a lot of times people say, oh, what a waste of time. I don't want to reread something I've read it once. Rereading really helps solidify that information in your head, though. Okay, so take the time, do a quick reread, look over your notes that you took the first time around, and add to them if you need to. Okay, so if you've missed something, write some stuff in, right? If you miss some main points that you notice again on your second read, now's the time to add to that. And then go through a period of reflection. This doesn't need to be a really long period. Couple of minutes even, right? And reflect on what you've just read. What did I learn? Okay, what was this article about? What point did the article or the chapter make? And again, in that process of reflecting, you'll find that you really retain information. And then finally, celebrate the fact that you read and understood an article or a chapter. When we're talking about medical information, these things are complex and complicated. So getting through an article or a chapter is a great thing. And you've added to your store of medical information that now is existing in your brain. So you definitely want to celebrate that. I'm going to give you a handout called Resources for Week 5. And in that handout, that's in the Week 5 folder, there's a video that I'm suggesting that you watch that gives a really excellent overview of the reading strategy for a journal article. I highly recommend that you watch it. It doesn't take very long, but it gives you some great ideas. And I'm also going to include a handout called Article Autopsy. And this is a really useful handout that you can use when you're going through an article to help you narrow your focus so that you're picking up on main points and main ideas coming through in the article. Okay, that sort of brings our introduction to reading strategies to a close. In our next video, we're going to take a look at some note-taking strategies that will help you when you're reading. I'll talk to you then.